Drop your fragile ego and listen. It is the most brutal betrayal of the human heart. The most dangerous predators never attack you in the dark. They walk directly into your life with a perfectly warm smile and an intensely magnetic charm. They make you feel completely understood and entirely safe. You blindly hand them the sacred keys to your inner sanctuary. Then, the subtle nightmare begins. You slowly discover the person you deeply trust is secretly orchestrating your psychological destruction. The ancient Stoics warned us about this specific poison. True survival requires the ruthless ability to see people exactly as they are. Today, we expose the hidden signs of evil. Subscribe to Ataraxia Forge right now. Your naive, pathetic optimism is exactly what they feed on. Wake up and see them now. Face the first illusion. Rule 1. The illusion of charisma. Rule number 1. The illusion of charisma. Evil does not loudly announce its arrival. It quietly enters your life dressed up as your greatest ally. These dangerous individuals possess an unnatural, almost hypnotic ability to light up a room. They are brilliantly witty, deeply engaging, and they immediately make you feel like the most important person in the world. At first glance, they appear absolutely perfect. You willingly lower your defenses, believing you have found a rare connection. But you must understand this fundamental truth. Their overwhelming charm is not a personality trait. It is a highly calculated weapon. It is a meticulously designed psychological trap intended to bypass your rational judgment. Over time, the flawless facade inevitably begins to crack. You start noticing the subtle, disturbing details. They aggressively dominate every single conversation, slowly making everything revolve exclusively around them. They drop subtle insults disguised as casual jokes to secretly undermine your confidence. And watch what happens when they do not get their way. A truly kind person handles their disappointment with grace. But the charismatic predator instantly flashes defensive anger, revealing the vicious manipulator hiding beneath the skin. The ancient Stoics clearly understood this dangerous social dynamic. The philosopher Epictetus heavily warned us against rushing to judgment based on superficial first impressions. He taught that we must strictly evaluate the inner character of those we allow into our sacred circle. You must completely detach from the initial emotional high and observe their actions with absolute, cold objectivity. Notice exactly how they treat the people who offer them zero social leverage. True character is never revealed in the bright spotlight of a crowded room. It is brutally exposed in the quiet shadows, in the ordinary moments, when they believe absolutely nobody is watching them. If someone appears entirely too perfect and good to be true, they usually are. Do not ever be a willing victim to a cheap, superficial performance. They invest heavily in this charming deception to systematically extract your trust, your resources, and your energy. Once you are emotionally bound to their narrative, the psychological devaluation immediately and ruthlessly begins. You are left hopelessly confused, deeply exhausted, and desperately trying to find the wonderful, caring person you first met. That magnificent person never actually existed in reality. They were merely a dangerous phantom, an elaborate projection designed specifically to hack your vulnerable mind. You must cultivate the stoic discipline of apatheia, a mind totally undisturbed by the blinding glare of false charisma. A person who aggressively sells you their absolute perfection is mathematically hiding a rotting, deeply broken soul underneath. Strip away their fake mask now. You must stare directly into their terrifying, empty void of empathy. Rule 2. The empathy void. Rule number 2. The empathy void. Once the charismatic mask finally slips, you are forced to stare directly into a chilling, emotional abyss. Empathy is the fundamental bridge that deeply connects human beings. It is the profound ability to understand and genuinely share the pain of another soul. But the truly evil individual completely lacks this essential human software. They do not simply struggle to understand your feelings. They fundamentally do not care that your feelings even exist. Imagine sharing your deepest vulnerability, hoping for a moment of genuine comfort. Instead of offering support, they instantly invalidate your pain. They brush off your legitimate suffering, mock your emotional state, or immediately pivot the conversation back to their own petty inconveniences. They will never celebrate your hard-earned victories, because your success does not serve their massive ego. This emotional blindness makes them incredibly dangerous, allowing them to inflict severe psychological damage without a single ounce of remorse. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius frequently meditated on the profound interconnectedness of humanity. He firmly believed that considering the well-being of others is a fundamental requirement for a virtuous, rational life. The philosopher Seneca also taught that true strength is deeply rooted in justice and unwavering kindness. A human being who completely operates without compassion is not demonstrating superior logic. They are suffering from a catastrophic failure of character. You must carefully observe how they react when you are bleeding emotionally. Do they offer a steady hand, or do they coldly analyze how your moment of weakness can be strategically exploited? A predator views your vulnerability not as a call for help, but as a golden opportunity to strike. They will demand endless emotional support from you. But the moment you require their presence, the void responds with deafening silence. They never experience the beauty of genuine love or the peace of true connection. They are forever trapped in cold isolation. Do not waste your precious energy trying to teach them how to care. You cannot pour water into a broken vessel and expect it to hold. You must protect your inner peace and permanently cut off their access to your emotional core. A creature entirely devoid of basic human empathy is simply a biological machine programmed for your destruction. Starve the monster out now. Prepare to navigate their web of lies. Rule 3. The architecture of deceit. Rule number 3. The architecture of deceit. An evil person does not just occasionally lie to protect their ego. They are pathological architects of false realities. They constantly fabricate stories, manipulate basic facts, and heavily distort the truth for absolutely no logical reason. Their entire existence is a complex, deeply terrifying web of calculated deception intended to keep you completely off balance. You might catch them in a ridiculous, easily verifiable lie, but instead of showing a shred of genuine remorse, they aggressively double down. They spin an even more intricate, confusing narrative. They thrive on the chaotic instability they create in your mind. Because when you are constantly questioning your own memory and basic judgment, they maintain total control. The Stoic philosophers valued truth and integrity above everything else in human existence. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius firmly stated that living a virtuous life means aggressively aligning your actions with reality and pure reason. He deeply understood that deception eventually rots the core of our society. Every single fabricated word they speak is a deliberate act of betrayal against human connection. You cannot construct a peaceful mind while standing on shifting sand. When a predator lies pathologically, they are living in direct, hostile opposition to the fundamental nature of the universe. They construct a toxic illusion that serves nobody but themselves. Your ultimate power lies in your absolute refusal to participate in their pathetic, fabricated theater. Epictetus heavily advised us to focus entirely on our own perceptions and to never let the deliberate dishonesty of others disturb our inner fortress. When you encounter their endless deceit, do not waste your precious energy trying to force them to admit the truth. They will never give you the closure you seek. A genuine person humbly admits mistakes and strictly corrects them. A pathological liar merely changes the subject, attacks your character, or violently plays the victim. You must remain completely vigilant, deeply observant, and ruthlessly critical. Never take their empty words at face value. Look strictly at their historical patterns of behavior. Over time, their relentless lying completely destroys the very foundation of trust required for any human relationship. Once that sacred trust is intentionally shattered, it is mathematically impossible to rebuild with a predator. You must step completely outside of their distorted reality. Anchor your mind deeply in the objective truth. Engaging in a logical debate with a pathological liar is exactly like drinking deadly poison and expecting them to die. Shatter their false reality now. Brace yourself for the ultimate psychological hijacking. Rule 4. The psychological puppeteer. Rule number 4. The psychological puppeteer. Manipulation is not just a simple disagreement. It is a highly sophisticated psychological assault. An evil person aggressively twists your reality, desperately bending your will to serve their hidden agenda. They are absolute master puppeteers, expertly pulling your emotional strings from the dark shadows. They deploy gaslighting as their primary weapon of mass destruction. When you finally confront them about their toxic behavior, they do not simply apologize. They completely rewrite the entire history of the event. They viciously accuse you of being overly sensitive, and they manipulate the facts until you genuinely believe you are the one at fault. They will ruthlessly exploit every single insecurity you possess until you are entirely paralyzed by fear and endless doubt. This insidious tactic systematically destroys your self-confidence, leaving you completely dependent on their distorted version of reality. They also weaponize the victim card with terrifying precision. They constantly demand your immediate help, loudly complaining about their endless problems. But the exact second you need their support, they instantly disappear. They use heavy guilt to keep you tightly chained to their chaotic life. The Stoic master Epictetus constantly warned us about this specific psychological hijacking. He clearly taught that our perceptions must remain firmly grounded in objective reality, untouched by the desperate manipulation of others. We cannot control their toxic actions, but we maintain absolute authority over our response. Your fundamental freedom is mathematically measured by your absolute refusal to be emotionally blackmailed by their chaotic drama. You must build an impenetrable wall around your precious mind. Another highly dangerous tactic is systematic isolation. The puppeteer secretly wants to cut you off from your loyal friends and loving family. They subtly whisper toxic lies into your ear, aggressively convincing you that nobody else truly understands you. They desperately need you isolated, because a solitary target is infinitely easier to control. The Stoics clearly understood that strong human communities are the ultimate shield against tyranny. When they attempt to separate you from your tribe, you must immediately recognize it as a hostile act of war. You must aggressively defend your clarity of thought. Step entirely outside of their twisted emotional labyrinth. Objectively observe how they constantly prioritize their selfish needs over your basic sanity. A person who intentionally makes you question your own sanity is not a friend. They are a highly calculated domestic terrorist. Cut their strings forever now. Prepare to face the final and most terrifying chains of control. Rule 5, the invisible chains. Rule number 5, the invisible chains. The ultimate goal of a truly evil predator is not simply to confuse you, it is to own you completely. This is the devastating reality of controlling behavior. They do not use heavy physical chains to keep you trapped. They use a highly sophisticated system of invisible psychological constraints. They aggressively monitor your every single movement, scrutinize your daily schedule, and subtly dictate exactly who you are allowed to see. Under the toxic disguise of deep love and extreme concern, they slowly strip away your personal autonomy. You eventually find yourself constantly walking on eggshells, desperately trying to avoid triggering their unpredictable anger. Your entire existence shrinks down to serving their endless, exhausting demands. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca heavily warned us about the dangerous surrender of our internal freedom. He argued that true slavery is not physical bondage. It is allowing another human being to dictate your emotional and rational state. No individual on earth possesses the divine right to govern your mind. Your absolute independence is not a negotiable privilege. It is a sacred, unalienable human right. When someone systematically attempts to cage your spirit, they are fundamentally declaring war on your soul. You must ruthlessly examine your current relationships. Do they encourage your personal growth, or do they actively sabotage your independence to keep you comfortably small and totally reliant on them? They are fundamentally terrified of your potential strength, because a strong, totally independent mind can never be successfully manipulated. You must reclaim your power right now without any hesitation or fear. A genuine partner empowers you to conquer the world. A dangerous parasite forcefully clips your wings so you can never escape their suffocating grip. It requires immense courage to recognize the heavy chains wrapping around your neck, but you must consciously choose the terrifying pain of breaking free over the quiet, pathetic tragedy of slowly dying in psychological captivity. A human being who actively seeks to destroy your fundamental freedom is the absolute purest manifestation of earthly evil. Break every single, invisible chain now. It is officially time to build your completely unbreakable iron fortress. Rule 6, the Iron Fortress and Number Fortress. You have successfully stripped away the blinding illusions, and you have exposed the rotting core of their deception. Now, you must undertake the most important task of your entire life. You must construct an impenetrable psychological fortress around your mind. Dealing with a truly evil predator is not a temporary battle. It is a permanent war for your spiritual survival. You can never negotiate with a creature that inherently lacks basic human empathy. You cannot simply ask a venomous snake to kindly stop biting you. You must physically and emotionally remove yourself from their striking distance forever. The great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that the human mind can be an invincible citadel. He firmly taught that while the external world is constantly filled with chaos and treacherous people, your internal reaction is entirely within your absolute control. When you finally withdraw your emotional reaction, you instantly destroy their only source of power. True power is not loudly destroying your enemies. It is silently building a life so incredibly strong that their toxic existence becomes completely irrelevant. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized that we are injured not by events, but strictly by our judgments about them. You must shift your perspective. See their deception not as your downfall, but as the ultimate catalyst for your psychological evolution. You must strictly apply the profound Stoic concept of total emotional detachment. When they desperately try to provoke you with new lies or pathetic victim routines, you must remain as still as a mountain of solid stone. Do not offer them your anger, your sadness, or your frustration. Give them nothing but the absolute chilling silence of a locked steel door. They will eventually starve in the cold darkness of your total indifference. This rigorous discipline is not about becoming a cold and unfeeling machine. It is about ruthlessly protecting your sacred energy for the genuine people who actually deserve your profound love. You have endured the agonizing nightmare of their invisible chains. You have survived the psychological torture of their master manipulation. Now, it is time to rise from the heavy ashes of their deceit and reclaim your rightful throne. You are no longer a blind victim desperately seeking their false validation. You are a heavily armored warrior of the mind. Forgiving a predator does not mean allowing them back into your life. It means officially accepting their death in your reality. Lock the iron gates now. If you are ready to forge an unbreakable mind and crush the manipulation in your life, violently hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a comment saying, "I am invincible," to officially seal your daily Stoic commitment.